Welcome to the NerdNest Podcast. I am Sarah Montgomery, social media manager, and we have one new person joining us this week.
Laura Koval, friend of Sarah Montgomery.
So let's ease up on the term friend there, okay? And then we have my older brother Joshua back again this week.
Hi.
Enthusiastic, love it.
No, I'm just laughing and she's like, friendly, Sarah Montgomery. You're so friendly right now. I can feel it.
But yeah, so check in the description of the YouTube video of this video, and you can see our social media links and a link to our blog and our website. So that'd be great. All right, we were going to discuss Aquaman movie.
Oh my god. I can't wait. Aquaman deserves more than what he gets.
I could not agree about a single sentence more than that sentence.
He's the most underrated superhero ever. Just read any Justice League comic and you'd find that he is just an absolute badass.
I think Daniel is one, whenever someone insults Aquaman, he always pulls up the same picture of Aquaman. And it's just Aquaman, like, raising a great white
No,
out of
that's
the shark.
me.
But he's commanding this great white. And Batman's like, and Green Lantern's like, oh my lord, what is going on? They're both looking like, is this happening? It's crazy.
I think it's DC's New 52, volume 2 or 3, I can't remember. Anyways, it's about Atlantis attacking the eastern seaboard.
Which comic series?
Justice League.
Okay.
And there's a panel where he's standing there holding his trident, and he's just screaming, "I am your king." And you're just like in the ocean, there's a lightning bolt, and you're just like, oh my god.
Now, Aquaman has always been one of those people, like, I feel like they kind of misrepresent him. A lot of people, when they think Aquaman, they think of, like, old school Robin, like, holy cows, Batman, look at that milkman. It's like, what?
Well, I mean, to be fair, every superhero, both DC and Marvel, I mean, not every superhero, but like a majority of them went through that.
Because that was the style of the time.
Yeah, they
So
went into, it was actually mostly because of, though, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, the Adam West Batman.
That would make sense.
Because that show came out, and then the comics kind of copied the show. Just like how nowadays there's the Arrow comics,
They like Arrow
is
season
the Arrows
2.5, yeah.
Arrow CW, based off of Arrow CW, and then there's also Arkham Asylum, which is a Batman series based off of the video game, and then there's also Injustice: Gods Among Us, which is based off of the fighting video game.
Can I just say, I've got my favorite trailer for pretty much anything ever was the trailer for the Injustice the DC fighting video game, because it had all these things where it was like, what do you fight for? And then Superman would come out, and it would, across his chest you would see the words hope appear, and Wonder Woman would have peace, and Batman had justice, and Joker had mayhem.
Chaos, perhaps?
No, it was Joker and Doomsday. Chaos was Doomsday, Mayhem was the Joker, because and the comments were like, it's because Mayhem is more like not man-made, and Chaos is natural.
Yeah,
but I just saw that, and I was like, I get goosebumps every time. Like, that one, and the one for I think it's the most recent, the Arkham Knight one, where it's Be Batman.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
I don't think it's a live action trailer for a video game, which is not normal. But it's like all these people, like some guy walking down an alley and thugs show up and he kind of cowers, or these guys abusing an old man on the subway, and it shows them all like afraid. And then it's a firefighter going into the building, and it's be selfless and be courageous, and they all stand up, and you're like, oh my god. And then it's just be Batman, and then rock music plays.
I heard that Jason Todd is going to be
in the Arkham Asylum
as Red Hood.
As in a video game?
I heard.
Yeah.
Which
I
is
think
like this game has to have an M rating now.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same with the Deadpool movie. You can't make a.
I'm so glad they
had
did
a
that.
radar, yeah.
Oh my god.
Because I mean, you can do a Deadpool rated PG-13, but it's not Deadpool.
Well, I mean, no,
it's gonna be like the X-Men.
Well, I mean,
Deadpool.
Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man TV show. They have Deadpool. He was in one of them, and they did a fairly good job making him PG, but not at the same time.
But even if
like,
they make it PG,
what
you
they
can
did-
tell when it's like.
What they
alright,
did, what they did though is like he would go just like he would say just like, we're gonna shoot him in the face until they are no longer, like he said something along those lines that, but he didn't use the word dead. We're gonna he didn't use or kill. He didn't
Right.
use those words, but he would say something that's like, you mean kill?
Be like, it's like what I'm doing right now, looking for a word.
Right.
It's like, it made it seem like that's what
And
he
you
was
like
doing.
kind of going
But
at it.
because Deadpool being, I know about things outside of
He has comic
he's
awareness.
a comic awareness. He would be like, oh, the TV execs don't want me to say the KILL word.
Yeah, and that's a really creative way to go around that. Josh, how long do you think you've been into comic books, like reading comic books?
Reading comic books? I mean, I've liked to read comic books for the last 3 years at least. Probably longer than that, but I didn't really have much to go off of.
With the new 52, it
because
makes it easier, definitely.
it was hard. Well, first off, I didn't know where to start.
Yeah.
Second off, I didn't have any way to get any comics.
I don't have a car.
I didn't have a
or
car
money.
or money or what have you, and I just I needed at least one or two. Like, I haven't bought a comic in a while because I'm kind of saving my money right now. I want to make sure I haven't, which is a little sad. But I mean, I can mooch off of the comics that you and Jacob buy. So.
But the reason I bring this up is to segue to Laura, because I kind of forced Laura to start reading comic books.
That's true.
Laura, you're one of your aspirations is to be an animator.
Yes.
And I was like, you should totally read this comic because the illustration is fantastic.
I mean, it is. but
It is fantastic.
I don't even know which
Okay,
one you're
like,
talking about, but
It was. I think. Which ones did you read?
Well, okay, so comic books, I think the only ones, well, because I've been reading graphic novels for like, I don't know,
Like
Okay.
Sandman
a year.
and Watchmen.
I mean, those are
I wanna
comic
read
books
Watchmen.
in my head.
those are comic books.
Yeah,
Watchmen's
like-
more of a graphic novel.
When I think of a comic
It's a
book, no, it's a comic
Fine.
Because when I think of a comic book, I think of like superheroes.
See, when I think of a comic book, I think of an almost
I think of
everlasting story.
I think of illustration that
Comic
Comic
book.
book
Fiction.
falls under graphic
Comic
novel
book for me is like a big category. Graphic novel is this has a definitive beginning, middle, and end.
see
Yeah.
there's
Which is
a
why I said
like-
Watchmen is a comic, or Watchmen is a graphic novel.
So graphic novels are like the movie, and comic books are like television shows.
sure.
Alright, well, what about, Amazing Spider-Man? There's Amazing Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, and I can't remember what it was. Anyways, Spider-Man became something stupid happened. Doc Ock got switched, put into Peter Parker's body, basically.
Spoilers.
And then, spoilers.
It's not
Spoilers, but not. I'm sorry, it's been for a while.
It sucks.
And that ended, and so that comic, because basically they took Amazing Spider-Man, changed its name, and then
I
changed it back.
wouldn't count that. That's not a graphic novel to me. A graphic novel to me is like, can you take this and make it into
Superior Spider-Man.
You know-
Superior Spider-Man.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. Alright, Laura.
Watchmen is like touchy because Watchmen is known as like the grandfather of graphic novels.
What?
It is. It says that on the book.
Okay.
That's what it's like referred
I feel
to
like,
as.
and then this is no offense to the Harry Potter fandom, but they're always like that, where they're like, here's the different fandoms. Sherlock are the genius crazy ones, and Supernatural are the really scary ones that no one messes with, and Harry Potter's the grandfather fandom. Like, if anything's a
What is that
grandfather
supposed
fandom,
to
it's
mean
either Star
exactly,
Trek, Star Wars, or Lord of the Rings.
what is
But-
that grandfather fan? Does that
Like
just
the
mean,
first fandom.
They're hardly
just
the
not a-
first.
Maybe the first for some kids because it was young when they were consuming it. But anyways.
The first one they get into.
Yeah. So what comics have you read so far?
Okay, DC wise,
Any
or
Any.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
about it.
I'll just talk about DC. So I read the first Batman,
Okay.
which is the one you made.
go general. Just say
Yeah,
I
but
read.
I liked
just
it.
right. Say I read Batman. I read.
Okay, Justice League, Sandman. I think that's it and Watchmen. But I think
Wait.
that's it for like DC.
I would read Watchmen.
All right.
But so you haven't read Batman Volume 2 though.
No.
Okay, so she's only read Volume 1 of Cordelia.
That's true.
I
It's
ordered
not-
some online, some Batman.
Our friend
comics.
Ayana, who was actually, no offense, Josh, was the person that I chose to be on this podcast, but she's
I know.
in the
Woke
ER
up-
right now.
she woke up and decided it'd be a good day to just like kick a wall. So she like shattered her foot. Hopefully she's okay.
Okay.
Poor kid.
Poor child.
They should be fine.
But Josh you're doing a good job replacing
What
her.
I always think is, this goes, you're talking about people and fandoms and stuff, and I always think that's funny is when people, how they love all these comic book movies, and I love them too, but they say, wow, wasn't that cool? It's like, yeah, and if you read the comics, you'd find that that's one of the more tame things that they've done.
Which is why, and I feel like a lot of my biggest issue with the comic book community is they almost make it unappealing to get involved.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because I don't think it happens as much as a lot of people say it does. Because it doesn't happen to me very often. But occasionally, and it's usually not at a comic book store, it's usually at a convention. Because the owner of a comic book store is not like, you nerd girl, get out. I don't want your money. You're a fake. But at a convention, it's not common, but it happens where they're like, oh, you like Batman? Well, tell me about Batman. And they're like, all right, we gotta do this pop quiz. I didn't really wake up and decide like, let's research all my obscure knowledge on Batman. And it's a very like grating community to get into because so that's I kind of.
I don't want to be.
It's very intimidating.
I mean, maybe that's the thing though. Is I'm not necessarily even trying to be part of the community. I'm just trying to read
the thing
something
is,
that I enjoy.
but that's the thing that I find interesting about it, because whether you're trying to be a part of the community or not, they're almost forcing you. They're like, all right, well, you read comic books, so are you a comic book reader or not? And so it's like, have you read X, Y, and Z comic? Then you're not a true fan. And they just like,
But see,
they're
that's
like,
the
and
thing
that's
though.
it. And that's all
Everyone's
I've
definition of that is way different.
Which is another issue. Which is why it should just be, and that's why it makes it complicated, because I can't just have like, well, I've read all these comics, so officially, here's my certificate signed by Stan Lee and, oh my god, who's the guy who created Batman?
Oh my god, I can't think.
Bill, Bob,
No, I can't. Goddamn, Jacob. I wish Jacob was here right now.
everyone's gonna hate this.
Doesn't matter.
I'm sorry,
We'll
I'm
skip.
shutting down.
Skip.
But it's signed by like the most famous comic book people in the whole world, saying that I'm officially a comic book person.
I feel like that's
Bob
for
Kane and Bill Finger.
Sounds somewhat
I
right.
think those are the creators of Batman.
Alright, I feel like that's why for a really long time I was like, I'm gonna read graphic novels to be like adjacent to all of these nerdy things, or
That's
like
true.
watch a lot of animated things
The animated stuff's
and
kinda
not
cool.
anime.
Yeah, but see, you watch.
Actually, he's also really intimidating.
you watch. See, the thing though is like you start it's like you start sticking your toe in, and you realize that something happens in the animation or in this way or this graphic novel that if you read the comics explains it so much better or something like that, and you realize that though.
Yeah.
You kind of go, I feel like there's something that I'm not being told.
Yeah.
And so you
Because
like.
I only have so much time.
And so you start to try to like figure out what that one thing is, and then you kind of try to like, well, I this explains this, but now
How do I
there's something
explain this?
else,
And then
so you
that's
kind of just
That's how you end up in the trash can.
But
And-
until, but until New 52 it was really hard to just
now it's just
start
you
anywhere.
get a handful of the big comics that really you should read anyways because they're great stories,
Yeah.
and then you're caught up,
Yeah.
and then
Well,
you start
and,
at 52 volume 1 and
We're kind of like pretty staunchly DC. Not that we dislike Marvel. Like the Marvel movies are great. I like obviously like the Daredevil show was great, but as far as comics go, we're definitely more DC. Our founder Rain is actually a Marvel person, so judge away. But one of the things I talked to her about, and what I've talked to you guys about, is our friend Ayana, the one who kicked the wall. She loves X-Men, so do I, and so I read Magneto 1 and 2 of Marvel Now. As opposed to Batman 1, where it's like, alright, well we have Batman, but we don't have his origin story, and we don't have the Robin's origin story, and we don't know
real
who any of
quick,
these characters
for everyone
are.
who doesn't know, Marvel Now is the equivalent of DC's New 52.
Right.
Where they did a soft relaunch, is what I
Right.
think is what they called it, where
Basically, that
they
makes sense.
reset all the characters and changed some backstories, but they kept a handful of
things
critical
consistent.
things, like, for example, in Batman, they kept the Killing Joke is still...
Yeah, but instead of Barbara
Is-
Gordon, instead of Barbara Gordon being paralyzed, she's just injured for a long time, and then she becomes
No,
bad.
she got... I
paralyzed.
don't know,
Well, she was paralyzed.
She got healed.
Healed,
Yeah.
instead of just remaining paralyzed and becoming Oracle, or staying as Oracle.
Yeah.
But the point is, Batman #1, you're reading, you're like, if I knew nothing about Batman, I'd be like, why is this guy Bat? Why is he in a cave? Who are these 4 white, black-haired dudes?
Boys that he's chilling with.
He's just in his house, and you get introduced to them, and so, like, but you know, you have a general
But if
awareness
you
of them.
read-
And if you read their comic books, you kind of, you know about them, but there's nothing that confusing. Magneto #1, Charles Xavier is dead. Magneto has weakened powers. Is like Island Kingdom of Genosha is like an abomination of wasteland being controlled by the Red Skull, and I'm sitting here like, what? Like, what? Is there anything I can do to catch up on this? Oh yeah, just read like 75 years worth of material before this. Like I can't do that. That's why having a like, it's. I think this is why I like New 52 because they ended the old universe.
They brought it.
Flashpoint with
They
Flashpoint.
brought it. They didn't end it. They
Right,
just
but they could explained it.
they wrapped it up. They
Right, so they don't leave.
narrowed it down.
And it's
brought it to
important.
a singular point.
It's important not to leave the old readers just hanging on. All right, the end, next thing, because that's not how you would do things. And it's like people always are concerned with like shows like Seinfeld or Friends. Like, how are we going to end this? We can't just. Okay, that's it. That was the last episode. Goodbye.
That's basically what Seinfeld did.
Yeah,
But
well.
that's
that was Seinfeld's whole thing, though. They were just like, it's a show about nothing.
Yeah, but the
end
point
it.
is like, you can't just end something that big. Like you can't just end the cinematic or the Marvel comic book universe. So what they kind of just did the same thing DC did. So what DC does is they wrap it all up with the Flashpoint saying it's not ended, but they're just all merging and it's become this new thing.
And the thing though is people got pissed. Some people got pissed about them doing that.
What a surprise!
But I don't understand why. They've done it 2 or 3 different times best. There's the Golden Age, the Silver Age, Crisis.
Look, because people, they will always find something to complain about. Jared Leto's Joker, I hate him. He's going to be the worst thing that ever happened to cinema. I guarantee it.
Little bit earlier, I can't remember his name. The last Joker.
Heath Ledger.
God damn, what did we do?
So us in Batman knowledge is just out the window. Yeah, but it's like Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger,
Are you
what?
serious? The guy in Brokeback Mountain?
Yeah, they all hated him, and then nope, best Joker. Mark Hamill, pretty much can't get a job that's not Luke Skywalker.
And whenever he
is
does,
a great Joker.
whenever Mark Hamill gets a job, they're always like, it was good, but not as good as Luke Skywalker. And so he's had to live with that. But he nailed the voice acting in Batman the Animated Series.
He's like
Nailed it.
In my mind, Joker's voice is Mark Hamill's
I
Joker.
could not agree with you more. I absolutely.
Anyone else, I'm sorry, you're not as good.
But we've really never had a bad Joker. Even Jack Nicholson was a fantastic Joker. But it's just like everyone gets so worked up about these things. Like Jason.
That being said, I'm not a huge fan of damage written across his.
What?
The,
Oh.
I'm not a huge
That
fan.
might have just
That
been
might be a
promo.
promo thing. I don't know. I'm gonna
Aside,
let the movie
like
come
here's
out.
what
I'm
I've
not gonna
learned
judge.
in
but-
my experience. There is absolutely 0 things that I can do to change if damaged is written on his forehead or not in the movie. Nothing. Now that doesn't mean I shouldn't complain about it, because complaining means that DC can hear your complaints, or hear your commentary at least, respond to it by saying, oh, that was just a promo shoot, it's not going to be in the movie. Now that we know how you react to that. But once it's established, once they've started filming, it's not going to do me any good to say, I think they should cast someone else as the Joker. I know we've already been filming for a few months, but we should change the actor right now, because I don't like Jared Leto. It doesn't do any good, and we often fall into these very unproductive conversations. And it drives me crazy.
I mean, I try to never get up into the hype of things. Occasionally I
Same.
do, but like I try my best to just kind of almost be surprised by it. If new video game's coming out, it's usually like hey, Josh, you can get that video game that comes out tomorrow? I'm like, it's coming out tomorrow? Oh, okay, cool.
I
Because
keep
I try
an
to
eye
keep
on-
myself like as in the dark as possible.
I do I
Not
want
because
to.
of spoilers, just because I don't want to get hyped up, put in a game, and then or a movie or whatever, and then hate it because it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I have a predisposed
As that
opinion
result,
of it.
I've been doing this for 2 years now, and I have not. I don't think I've ever gone into a movie and been disappointed. I've never disappointed. I've never bought a game and was disappointed with it. I have loved every movie I've watched, every video game I've watched, unless it was like legitimately bad, because
Right, you
I
don't have
So
didn't
let
hype
me ask you
myself
this.
up for it.
What is the last thing that was ruined for you by overhyping? Or what was the last thing that surprised you because you read a lot about it and then it blew your expectations away? I think for me, Guardians of the Galaxy was one of those things where I looked at it, I was like, this is gonna be so stupid. That's a raccoon with a gun and a talking tree. I watched it, fantastic movie. Absolutely loved it. Probably my favorite Marvel movie aside from like Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier is my
Winter
favorite.
Soldier's great. I can't remember the last thing that was ruined for me by the hype.
I'm thinking it's a video game, but I can't quite think of it. It might be Just Cause 2.
Okay.
We were like, my friends and I were really excited to get that game, and we played a little bit of the demo, and it's gonna be more.
Yeah, and then just.
And it was just kind of like an extended world of the demo,
What
which
about
was upsetting.
you? What about you, Laura?
I think the last thing I was like genuinely really disappointed about, and I was expecting it to be much better. This isn't really a nerd thing. Like the finale of How I Met Your Mother.
Oh.
No, I mean that's
No,
kinda
but, like,
gross.
I felt
That's
like
a different thing.
I don't
You've
know.
come to expect something. It's like playing a game.
It's not even
and then
overhyped. That's just
the
like
ending
bad.
is just trash.
So
That's-
Yeah, I
drop
don't
the ball.
think. I think I'm with you where I don't really
that's
expect
not
much of
that's
the
not
things.
that's not hype, but it's like that's just
Bad.
they didn't do a good job with it.
We've about finished our time. But one thing that can never be overhyped is how awesome NerdNest's blog is. Because I'm a writer. But seriously, again, in the link in the description below, you'll have links to our social media, our blog, our website. So check it all out. And thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Waving is difficult here. The queen.